everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Roya. Thank you for being here. I'm going to be telling you today all about magical, whimsical, cottagecore and Regency books that I think are perfect for spring. Some of these I recommend heavily and others I have put on my TBR that I have seen just glowing reviews for. It is March, it is almost time for spring. Daylight savings just started, so we get one more hour of sunlight, and I figured what better time to make this video for you guys. Let me know if you have any spring book recommendations in the comments. This is Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. We all know the story. Alice goes down a literal rabbit hole. She chases a rabbit. She eats whimsical, magical snacks. She runs into the Mad Hatter. She's talking to animals that can talk back. There's a magical tea party. There's a Queen of Hearts. That is the story of Alice in Wonderland in a nutshell. I can't think of a more perfect book for this video, honestly. I can't think of a more perfect book for this season. And another interesting thing about the copy that I actually have is it is interactive. It is a Minalima edition. So not only does it have the text from the story, but it's got like pictures, it's got like slide out illustrations. Especially if you're reading a classic, sometimes getting an interactive or a fun special edition can make it a lot more entertaining and more of a fun experience, especially if you're reading some of those denser classics. This will be a reread for me, and I'm going to read it in this interactive edition. The next book on this list is Garden Spells by Sarah Addison Allen. This one, just the cover of it just screams spring and cottagecore to me, which is why I picked it up, but the story is actually really heartwarming. It is about two sisters, Claire and Sydney. They kind of grew up in small town North Carolina. Their family has like what you'd call magical lineage and heritage. Claire is also like the complete opposite of Sydney. She kind of feels more like of a respect and a duty towards her family's heritage and like the magical abilities, whereas Sydney is doing her best to try and escape it. She doesn't want the magical burden. She's more of a rebellious, free spirit. And of course that puts a strain on the sisters' relationship. This is kind of like a story about family identity, love, self-acceptance, and honestly, it's a really short read as well. It's so whimsical. The next book might be familiar to you as well. This is The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. This is an older classic as well. Once again, I have a fun copy of my classic. This is following Mary. She's 10 years old, I believe, and she's sent to live with her uncle after she becomes an orphan, basically. She's kind of a spoiled, bitter kind of girl, and she's exploring this manor that her uncle lives in, and she comes across this abandoned garden. She makes a friend with another young boy, and together they kind of bring life back into this garden, and it is, again, like a tale of love and regrowth. You know, with love and attention, like a relationship can flourish, and in this case, the garden flourishes. So that's what this story is about. And since I have kind of a fun edition, I have all these really pretty illustrations, and I believe these are the original illustrations from the older like publications of the book. You can't go wrong. It literally has the word garden in the title, so it was just perfect for this list. Next on the list is A Little Princess by Frances Hodgson Burnett as well. This is another classic, super well loved. I have read this, watched the movie when I was a child, and now I can really appreciate it as an adult, but it is following young Sarah, who kind of comes from a little bit of like a wealthier background. Her father sends her to this girls' school, and at first Sarah's like loved by everybody. She has all these pretty dresses and dolls. She has this beautiful Victorian childhood. The headmaster, I'm assuming she's the headmaster, but she's like the owner of the school. She really favors her at first. She treats her really well, probably because of her status and her wealth, and things take a turn. Her father unfortunately passes away, and Sarah is left as an orphan. And instead of kind of consoling the girl and helping her, the headmistress of this school makes her a servant and treats her really cruelly. She loses her room. She goes to like the servants' quarters, and she's miserable, of course. Her whole life has kind of felt like it was ripped away from her. All of her fun things were taken away from her. But Sarah was a really nice person. She didn't really let her wealth get to her head. She was kind to everybody. Eventually, things take a good turn for Sarah, and a mysterious like third party is helping her. Along with the help of this third party and her friend, Sarah realizes like, hey, wealth is not everything. Like, I have everything I need. It is a story of love. It's a story of you're never too young to be a princess. Eventually, Sarah's story takes a turn for the better and everything ends up okay for her. So this is another just beautiful book. I mean, the cover is absolutely stunning. And of course, it has the illustrations as well. It's just beautiful. That's Sarah in the picture with her really pretty dress. It's got the girly princessy vibes and a little bit of like that Victorian atmosphere as well. Next up on this list is The Benevolent Society of Ill-Mannered Ladies, and this is by Alison Goodman. This is a historical mystery book that's got some elements of romance intertwined in it. This is set in the Regency era as well, and it's following two women who, instead of kind of succumbing to the spinsterhood life of an unmarried woman back in those days, they decide to create this like society that helps women out who are in abusive situations. And eventually they come across a nobleman who's got like a complicated past, and his involvement becomes like an interesting point in the story. It's about heroism, and it's also a thrilling and action-packed book, which you probably wouldn't expect from the title, but it is set in the Regency period. I personally love mysteries and thrillers. Like, they are my favorite genre. So if you combine it with like a Regency historical period, that to me is like a very interesting combination. So check this out and let me know what you think. This next book is nothing like you would expect. It certainly wasn't anything like I expected. It is The Secret Service of Tea and Treason by India Holton. Again, beautiful, stunning cover, perfect for spring, but don't be fooled. This book offers a lot more than just the cover. So it is set in kind of an alternate, like parallel Victorian England setting. And the reason I say that is because just the behaviors and the actions of these characters aren't really fitting the Victorian England time period. So we have a man and a woman working together as spies. There are pirates in this book. There are flying houses in this book. These two go undercover to infiltrate a pirate society. Yeah. However, there is always a however. They start to develop feelings for each other. So now you've got this kind of like friendship and this mission they're on, and you're throwing some romance in there too. I think you guys would really like this, and I think it is probably one of the most unique books on this list. I had to put this on the list. It is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, another classic. Notice how a lot of these spring books are classics. This is following Elizabeth Bennet and her sisters, her family. They are all unmarried, and of course they're looking to find a husband. Elizabeth is more of a rebellious figure. Her mom is desperately trying to put her with somebody. I think at one point her cousin, which no thanks. She ends up going to a ball with her sisters. She comes across this mysterious, like reserved man named Mr. Darcy, who at first really is put off by her. She and him are probably what you'd think are the least like compatible with each other, but all that changes. And it is a story of forgiveness, love, and friendship. And we get to see the relationship she has with her sisters and her parents as well. Further emphasizes the point that back then, a lot of women were expected to marry, even if they didn't want to secure their future, secure like fortune and all of that. Because if you didn't, you know, you didn't have anything. But Elizabeth just does not love that idea, and she challenges that in this story. So definitely give this a try. It's like two kind of stubborn, hard-headed people kind of headbutting the whole time, but it's so fun to read. And of course, the movie pairs really well with the book. The next book on this list is another Regency novel. This is Bridgerton, The Duke and I, Daphne story, and this is by Julia Quinn. So this is like the Netflix adaptation cover, but if you haven't seen the show, basically Bridgerton is about a family, of course a wealthy family, in the Regency period. And back then, when their daughters came of a certain age, they would send her off into the season, basically to find her a suitable husband to secure her future and her fortune. Each installment of the show is a different girl or a different guy who's looking for their future spouse. And this is particularly Daphne's story, which is my absolute favorite. And Daphne is kind of this like really princessy, gentle, honest, and kind member of the Bridgerton family. And it's her turn in the season to find a husband. She comes across the Duke of Hastings, who really doesn't seem like he's interested in marriage. He definitely doesn't want kids. Daphne is the opposite. She wants all of that. They kind of strike up a deal. I don't know what the trope is called, but it's like the fake romance trope where they are both undercover. They're not actually in love with each other, but they're pretending to be to reach a certain means. But he doesn't want to be bothered by any of the moms of the daughters. He doesn't want women coming up to him anymore. She's kind of over it, so they have this fake relationship. They fool everybody. But at one point, they start to develop feelings for each other. They can no longer fool people. The Duke has a change of heart as well. It's such a quintessential Regency novel. Definitely check it out. The next book on this list is A Curse So Dark and Lowly by Bridget Kammerer. This is a modern retelling of Beauty and the Beast with some tweaks and changes, but it is following Harper. One night, she thinks there's a kidnapping and she's trying to stop it, but she actually gets sucked into like a magical kingdom. And then she meets Prince Ren, who has been cursed, just like the Beast, but Ren is like turning into a monster every season until he finds his true love. Ren's guard has been finding girls in hopes to break this curse, but it's not working. And Harper is not really like these other girls. She fights back. She gets involved in like the political ordeals of his kingdom. There's friendship. There's bravery. And so that's what this story is about. It is kind of action-packed and thrilling as well. It's not just romance. And just like the original Beauty and the Beast story, there is a lot of character development, and there is an antagonist who is the one that cursed the Beast or Prince Ren in the first place. So if you like Beauty and the Beast or retellings, I certainly do. Check this one out. I believe it is a series. There is a sequel. I don't know if there's a series. I bought this book so many years ago. You know I had to put her on this list. This is such a classic, well-loved book. It is basically about Anne, who is an orphan, but she is adventurous, she is imaginative, she is spirited, and she's adopted by this family. It's a small town called Avonlea in Prince Edward Island. Originally, the family wanted a boy, but they decided to keep Anne. I guess they liked her so much, but she gets in a lot of adventures. She meets friends, she goes to school, she accepts responsibility. And it is a really heartwarming tale. It's definitely approachable. I have the mass paperback edition. I have actually the box set, but I do have a middle grade version with pictures as well. But you can't go wrong with Anna Green Gables, her red hair. Everybody in this town loves her, and I think that's what makes Anne so special in this story, is that she leaves a mark on everybody who meets her. The next book on this list is The Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels by India Holton. This is also another one of those fun books that you wouldn't expect given the cover and like the time period. This is set in like the Victorian era. It is another historical romance. This is following Cecilia, who appears to be like a genteel young lady, but she's actually part of a society of higher class women that do assassinations and like crazy stuff. And then there's Ned, who comes in, who is hired as an assassin to kill Cecilia. He falls in love with her. Did you see that coming? I did. There is an antagonist in this story. He is trying to basically rid England of these female pirates basically sent on an adventure. So that's all I'm gonna say. It is very fun. I really like what India Holton's doing here. She's taking like Regency and Victorian like timelines, but she's kind of skewing it and doing things you wouldn't expect of women of those time periods. It just makes it really fun and interesting. Next book on this list is The Hobbit by J.R. Tolkien, and I have a really stunning, beautiful edition from Barnes & Noble. The Hobbit is about Bilbo Baggins, who, just like me, loves being at home. He's got like 2 breakfasts. He loves eating. He loves relaxing and staying in his peaceful little hobbit hole. And all of a sudden, Gandalf the wizard and 13 dwarves storm in and say, hey, You need to help us reclaim the dwarves' land and fight off this fearsome dragon who has taken all of their treasure. And of course, Bilbo's like, no, you can leave, but eventually he joins the party. And it is a story of action, bravery, and resilience, and also like the threat of imminent war. At the beginning, you wouldn't expect that Bilbo would have this bravery to take on what's being asked of him, but you'd be surprised. He ends up being what I think is one of the bravest characters in the story. This is where the Lord of the Rings kind of timeline opens up. It's a clever story. Bilbo ends up using his wit to outsmart this dragon. He goes from this homebody in his shell to a courageous hero. I read it in one day. I loved it so much. And if you get a fun edition, you'll have all these cool little pictures in it. So love The Hobbit. Next book on this list is A Dark and Stormy Tea by Laura Childs. This is a cute little mystery novel. It is set in Charleston, South Carolina, and we're following Theodosia. I'm gonna call her Theo because I don't want to say the name wrong. But she owns this tea shop, basically. Naturally, she becomes entangled in this investigation to find out who the murderer is, and all the while she's juggling managing her shop and high society and tea events as well. So this is like a fun little book. Tea really kind of sets like the spring mood. It's in Charleston, and also she owns a tea shop, and it's talking about high society. So I figure it's a perfect book for this list. The next books on this list are not really like strictly novels. They're more of like picture books and short stories, how-to books. The first one is called Fairies, and this is by Sky Alexander. So this one is a fun book to flip through. It's basically just like talking all things fairies. So if you're into fairies and like cottagecore whimsical things, you would really like this book. Air elements, water nymphs, shape-shifting fairies, Native American spirit animals, fairy sightings, different like excerpts about mystical and magical creatures. Scandinavian fairies, I didn't even know that was a thing. This is just a fun spring book to flip through casually, so I thought I'd put it on this list. And to go with the fairy theme, I have the Faerie Handbook, and this is an enchanting compendium of literature, lore, art recipes, and projects. This has got like a lot of stuff in it. It's really interactive. Look at that. That's just stunning. For example, the table of contents say part 1, flora and fauna, part 2, fashion and beauty, and then arts and culture, home, food, and entertaining. So it kind of educates you in the beginning about fairies and different kinds of fairies. And then look at all these pretty pictures. And then it's got like DIYs and how-tos, how to make a fairy terrarium. It even tells you what fairy shoes look like. You can even make fairy dust. I got this at Barnes & Noble. I actually had my eye on it for a while, but it's so much fun to flip through. I've got The Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady by Edith Holden. So this is basically an edition of Edith's original diary from 1906, and she's taken notes on things like flowers in these different months, watercolor paintings, and just kind of observing the changing seasons, which, as you know, spring is like a symbol of regrowth and a new beginning. Bird illustrations. Have also the garden stories, and this is an Everyman's Pocket Classics edition. I just saw this on a whim at Barnes & Noble. I decided to get it. Basically a compilation of nature, garden, and earth-like settings and excerpts of larger literature works. One chapter is called The Garden I Have in Mind. Another one is Up the Garden Path. Another one is The French Scarecrow. Even if you go on like a picnic, this would be fun to flip through. The last 2 books that I have on this list, I'm gonna start with Beatrix Potter. I have the Complete Tales. This is a heavy one. And this was a gift from my husband because I've been eyeing this for so long and he surprised me with it. But I am a huge fan of woodland fantasy, magical, like cottagecore settings. And I mean, you don't get any better with that than with Beatrix Potter. It's a collection of all 23 of her tales. The Tale of Tom Kitten, for example, from 1907. It's definitely for the children age group. I don't think you have to be a certain age to enjoy these things. I'm almost 30 years old and I take comfort in these things. And I think Anybody could, honestly. On the same token, check out Bramley Hedge books. They even have puzzles. It's kind of similar. The reason I'm not pulling out my Bramley Hedge book to show you is because it's kind of stuck behind a lot of my decorations and I don't want to knock everything over, but I'll put some pictures here so you know what I'm talking about, but it's kind of on the same page as Beatrix Potter. Last but not least, I have Fairy Tales and Folklore, a family heirloom of stories to inspire and to entertain. And this is by Professor William Gray with Joanna Gillar and Rose Williamson. I got this at Books A Million during the pandemic. I've never seen a big storybook like this. This literally looks like something you would see in like Snow White or Cinderella. It's just got that like quintessential princessy vibe that you would see it on like the stand and then the movie would start and it would open. It's got beautiful illustrations. So this is a compilation of many fairy tales. I just saw Goldilocks. There's Snow White in here, the Fitcher's Bird. Let's see what else is in here. Jack and the Beanstalk. So all these classic fairy tales we know and love. A Lesson for Kings, The Touchstone, Sir Wimble, The Brave Tin Soldier, and it's separated by the centuries. If you ever feel like getting lost and truly immersed in a book, check out fairy tales because there's nothing more whimsical and immersive than something like a fairy tale which is so unrealistic in our lives and our world. It's just fun to escape into a fairy tale. So that's my collection of fairy tales. You definitely don't have to go this crazy. Brothers Grimm as well is another great recommendation, kind of on the same token as this. That is it, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. This was so much fun to make. I am so pumped for spring. I hope you enjoyed these recommendations that I've shared with you. If you have any, please comment them below. I love finding like hidden gems. A lot of my books come from recommendations, so let me know if you know of any spring books. And other than that, thanks for being here. I hope you have a wonderful spring, and I will see you in the next video.